I think it's important that you don't, I don't, none of us shouldn't buy into the narrative written for us. The reason why I say this is because we are educated from the time that we're young to the time that we get older, to the people that we surround ourselves with, from to the jobs that we take, the businesses we own. Uh, the mentors we take on who tell us what the possibilities are, whether they say they're unlimited or they say, well, it's not a linear thing. It's I want to say it's things change over time and adjustments are made. Real simply, it's a dimensional thing. What was possible then is still possible now, but what is possible now wasn't possible then. So you really can't tell me what's possible because you really don't know or understand or even have the wisdom to tell someone else what's possible. All things are possible. Now, whether you want to be a part of that all things in that particular person's life is a different issue. But the minute you speak limitations over someone else, you have made a decision about your own life. You haven't made a decision about theirs. It's not for you to write a narrative for me, and it's not for me to write a narrative for you. I either come into agreement with your narrative or I don't. You either come into agreement with my narrative or you don't. The possibilities are not something that is controlled by any individual person. The possibilities are under the authority of I am. I am that I am. And it really is just that simple. I am that I am. I didn't create for me who I am. I was sent by I am. For me to walk in a narrative that you set for me or me set for you would take him off the pedestal and put you squarely on. But you didn't actually create anything for me to recognize you for being on a pedestal. And neither did I. I was talking to a young lady, really nice young lady, and she's transitioning, and someone was speaking against her transition, or maybe not against her transition, but saying what's not possible with that transition. She says, no, baby, that's for you. That's not for me. These examples are all over life. The unfortunate truth is the very people you want to come into agreement with, not for any ambiguous reason or any deceptive practice, but for the purpose of moving the community forward, are so busy, drowned in their fears, they project their fears upon the next person who just wants to be in agreement with someone and explore the great I am. all that is possible. It's done so, again, on many levels, many dimensions, but it's done so by different people coming together with different talents. But one thing that can't be missing is passion. Different people, different talents roll together. Now, this happens or occurs in fraternities, frats, right? Fraternities. This happens in social clubs, groups, political organizations. This happens in nonprofit organizations. They come together into agreement and they make this thing happen, although the general congregation is not necessarily aware of what they're making happen. They call themselves associations. They have their own private meetings. See, the goal is to involve as many talented people as possible. I think about the story of David when he was being chased by Saul, who was anointed king, but lost his anointing. He lost his anointing, and the proof of losing his anointing was jealousy and anger and bitterness, judgmental spirit. He decided to shoot and try to kill the very blessing that was in his life. Self-sabotage. It wasn't his first time with David. It really started with Samuel. Samuel, who had anointed him king, had mentored him and anointed him king, and God had told him to anoint him king, and Samuel comes and he gets fearful and he decides that he was going to take things into his own hands. He forgot all the talent that was around him. He didn't know how, and he didn't see the value in the relationships. In doing so, Saul created a narrow narrative. The possibilities were large. God had given him the opportunity. The people wanted a king, didn't necessarily want him as the king, but wanted a king, and he was anointed king, and he had great possibility. Are we tapping into our possibilities? Or do we think our possibilities are things and positions and not the resources of people? Do not buy into a limited narrative. God has written an abundant narrative for all of us. Find those people who appreciate the relationships to accomplish that narrative.